Hey guys, so today I'll be making a C0 Chevruse build. I just finished building her after I finished investing on Raiden, and she was pretty straightforward to build. Her weapon is a Fab Lance. Obviously, her most optimal weapon would be the Black Tassel, like it would give her more, it gives base HP, so it'd give her more HP. But I didn't want to invest in a 3-star weapon, and plus I had the Fab Lance ready already. So it was pretty straightforward. I just slapped this on. Her artifact, I mean, ignore this. This is kind of cringe. I just didn't really have many choices. So yeah, her artifacts, I just went HP for the Sans Goblin and the Circlet. So if you don't know how she works, and she's on C0, I got another constellation recently, but I didn't put it on. I just want to make a showcase without any cons. But regarding her cons, only her C6 matters. Like her C6 is pretty broken. This is when she becomes. We'll get into it later, but yeah, this is when she becomes like one of the better supports in the game. So yeah, if you don't know how she works, her E fires like a gun, and you should always hold and shoot it. So her E heals and it gives buff, and her Q, it doesn't really do anything significant for support. But yeah, it just shoots like a bunch of nades and they do damage. So basically the way her passives work is she only works in overload teams, by the way, so she'll only work if you trigger overload. So her first restriction is that, obviously. So every time you trigger overload, she reduces the pyro and the electro resistance of opponents by 40%, which is the same as like the Verdus and Veneer, so you can see, for 10 seconds. But hers is far more consistent because it just triggers based on a reaction and you don't really have to swirl anything. So her second passive is every time she fires an overcharged ball from her E, she gives 1% attack damage bonus. Attack percentage bonus for every 1k HP she has. For example, she's at 36k HP, so she gives 36% attack bonus. Ideally, she should be on 40k HP, that's her maximum limit. But yeah, I just couldn't get her to 40k HP in like such a low investment. So yeah, this weekend we'll be going over how she works and how she performs in this team. The team I have her right now is on this Overload team, and it's a pretty OP team from what I've found. Because of having 3 electro characters together, 3 pyro characters together, Xiangling gets her burst up almost every single time. The Raiden Shogun also makes getting burst super easy. The rotations are very simple, so yeah, we'll just get into a quick showcase and see how she does. Okay, yeah, so moving on to the showcase, the rotation I'm using is very simple, like once you understand how Chevruse works, because the rest of the team doesn't really, it's pretty straightforward. So what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm activating Raiden's E, and then I'm going into Chevruse and using her burst. So the reason I'm doing this is because to trigger the first overload reaction, the reason that's important is because it allows Chevruse to do a different kind of shot, which is called an overcharged ball, and then I'm using her E to activate the buffs, and then from here on it's obvious. I use Bennett's ult, Bennett's E, then Xiangling's E, Xiangling's ult, and then finally Raiden Shogun's ult. So I would suggest if you're using this team, this is like the most optimal rotation. And the reason afterwards you don't really need to switch to anyone. You just have to work on like maybe getting energy or something like that. But yeah, you can see this team is pretty OP. I've never seen Raiden hit this high of these many high numbers. And in the Abyss, I don't think I have the best buffs here. And you can see how easily she shreds everyone going forward. Yeah, Raiden's hitting 20k, 14k on some of the normals. It's pretty insane, honestly, like how much she enables the team. And another thing that Chevruse allowed me to do, because she's pyro and because she gives some energy too, is it allowed me to switch some of the artifacts of like some emblem artifacts. So I used to use the ERPs on Xiangling, and I was able to give that to Raiden and give Raiden's attack piece to Xiangling, and
it improved my damage so much. I could not have done this in any other team that I normally run with this score, like Raiden, Shangling, and Bennett. Like when I have Yellen, or you'll see in the showcase moving on, I have Kazuha as well. I don't have the luxury of doing this, of switching artifacts, giving more ER to the Shogun, is just because Shangling is she's so energy recharge hungry, and just having Chevruse, just having some of that extra pyro particles really helped a lot. And here's a comparison with Kazuha instead of Chevruse. So Kazuha is on VV, and this is a very high investment Kazuha with his signature weapon, the Freedom Sworn. And please keep in mind that the Freedom Sworn alone gives a lot of buffs. And you can see we're hitting slightly worse damage compared to before, and it is a lot harder. Obviously, I've run out of the buffs of the Vertisan Veneer because Kazuha is no longer swirling off field, and now I have to ult with Kazuha just to get the Vertisan Veneer buff. And I'm only getting a buff for Electro because that's what he swirled in his ult. I'm only constantly reapplying only the Electro buffs, and Shangling's buffs don't really get added on. Okay, so moving on to how Kazuha does in the Abyss. Obviously, Kazuha is like so good as a grouping unit, and he has a lot of utility. And yeah, you can see in this Abyss, at least on this floor, it doesn't really matter that much. But in general, Kazuha would... I'm not saying she's better than Kazuha, don't get me wrong. She's not a better unit than Kazuha, because Kazuha is able to fit into so many other teams. And even if you take anyone else as a replacement for Kazuha in that instance, like even Sucrose, or let's say Venti, just for the sake of it, they're able to fit into way more teams. But keep in mind, Chevruse is just a 4-star character, and if you're lucky enough to just get even one copy, I would suggest it's worth building her if you already have her. She's really good for like this very hyper specific team, and I only have the option to use her with the Shogun, but it would be really good to run her with Clornad. I don't know how to say her name, but yeah, it would be really OP to run her with that character as well, with the same team. And she works so well. The way she stacks all the buffs along with Bennett, and the way she works with the Shangling is really, really good. And it's this sort of consistency that she gives all her buffs is what gets to me, is that she's so cheap to invest in, and she's so consistent in most of the teams that she's able to fit. So yeah, moving on to the conclusion. So I would say, yeah, she's not as good as some of the other supports that are out there. She probably won't even be better than many other supports moving forward. But for this very hyper-specific team, she's pretty OP. And when was the last time Genshin released a character, like a 4-star character, that helps out teams so much at C0 alone? Let's not even get into her constellations. Apparently her C6 outperforms Kazuha at C0. So that's saying a lot, honestly. And if you do have the luxury to pull for the Shogun or Kinish, and you do happen to get a copy of Chevruse, I would really suggest building her. And the question really comes down right now is, should you pull for her? And I would absolutely say yes. Like you should pull for her. She's very, very cheap to build. She's very easy to build, and I don't even have her on 4-piece noblesse. I'm still working towards that, and if I do get her on that, again, she would be significantly better with a decent artifact set as well. And even her energy recharge, I actually do have a lot more energy recharge on her than needed. Because of the Fab Lance. So yeah, she's pretty good, and I would highly suggest to pull for her. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.